Hello, my name is Brant Hunt, and my channel is Discerning What is True. Today is the 16th day of September 2023. As I continue to read from this particular book by Phil Langdon, that is The Revelations of the Holy Spirit Decoded, that is by PG, what we call Phil Langdon's book here. The title of the chapter is 8, that is, not title, but the number 8, and it's called The Elementary Trumpets. And we're going to see what we call the card here from the Rider-Waite card here is to do with what we call strength. A king needs inner and outer strength or fortitude. The 8 tarot card, normally shown as a woman wrestling in line, suggests of Hercules and one of his 12 laborers of redemption. Strength is the ruler of a nation, such as a king, is a prerequisite and a necessity. The 8th letter of the Hebrew alphabet is Chet, C-H-E-T, meaning life, or Zoe, Z-O-E. The Czech is a fusion of 2 letters, the Vav, V-A-V, and the Zayin, Z-A-Y-I-N. On top of the vowel and Zayin is a bridge that unites the two. Vowel represents the male principle, the husband, so to speak, and Zayin represents the female principle, the wife. The bridge that links them is God. To open the eye of wisdom, we merge God's presence and understanding with all that is physical, as if physical nature is necessary to turn us into God. The opposite of spirit and energy become one and the same, in 2 opposite states at the same time. The physical world is an effect of spirit's non-linearity, making spirit the archetype and leader of the 2. Both resolve into one, as the physical process becomes the necessary evil by which we gain understanding of our greater selves by going through the eye of a needle, turning ourselves inside out to experience all 3 aspects of our own spirit when we ascend. Since spirit is the leader in existence, we may also take its nature as the archetype behind cosmic form and action. We can see this in Archangel Gabriel's hyperbolic horn, relaying the infinite with the finite, in the form of a long trumpet-shaped surface created by rotating the expression 1/n, where n is any number around the axis of the value of n. Again, Phil Langdon has a lot of what I would call, again, he was trying to find God by simply looking in science. And so he's going to relay that to you by a lot to do with science. The surface area of this figure is infinite. Now, he's showing here a horn, very top. And he's also down here is going to represent what we call the 3-act play or shows that we see on, a movie, so to speak. All of them are the same. They're all based upon 3 acts. So the surface area of this figure is infinite. As it disappears into infinitesimal small point at 1 and towards infinity, while opening like a trumpet at the other finite end, giving it a definite volume, whose value turns out to be the very neat and tidy, that is pi. We might compare this character with the cosmos, whose volume will always be finite, and yet whose surface area may be taken to infinite over its infinitesimal small pieces. Of course, pi is just a number with no units, transient to size and scale, and number whose decimal goes on forever. Applicable to the transcendent singularity at the heart of a black hole when we compare the nature of numbers with nature itself. In conjunction, the value of a pi may be approximate as the fraction 22/7, correct to 3 decimal places, relatable to the 22 chapters of Revelations, and is focused on the number 7. With chapter 8, we start Act 2 and a new cycle of 7. Opening again with a moment of ascension at the 7th seal, as in chapter 1, followed by 4 verses concerning cosmic creation before continuing with the effects in the cosmic product, the human nervous system. So here's Revelation chapter 12, verse 1. When he opened the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven for about half an hour. The seventh seal corresponds to Leo, the sun, and is so special and important as the spiritual pineal crown chakra, you see, of the conqueror. We find it isolated on its own at the start of a new chapter concerning inner strength and creative power. The experience encounter here is to follow on from the sixth seal, highlighting the silence of the abyss as the third and final part of the ascension experience that introduces the cloud to the ascended person. Half an hour is 30 minutes, relating to LAMED, L-A-M-E-D, the appropriate letter of teaching and learning. The light of wisdom is our teacher now, and yet our servant as well, in a sense. Like the genie of Aladdin, every newly born angel becomes a pupil in God's classroom. Their instructor and measuring stick is the light giving them insight into reality at the level of archetype, depending on their conscious focus as insights floods into their expanded awareness. The foundation of understanding is sure and grounded in truth as its starting point, like this. Meaning an illuminate relearns everything properly from the ground up. And I saw the seven angels who stand before God, and to them were given seven trumpets. The chakras are only prevalent in the body, not the risen spirit by itself. Or course, the graphic showing the illuminate's body chakra at the end of the creator's right hand is associate, not literal. The seven angels before God may be identified as the seven archangels, that is Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, Uriah, Sephiah, Jephudiel, and Baratil as the seven lights of the illuminate rainbow arch of chakras. A angel is an angle of light. A-N-G equals corner or angle. E-L means God, relating to the angles of light for each chakra color. The seven angels are given seven trumpets to sound off corresponding noetic, that is, intellectual centers in the brain of the illuminate. As they fire up their corresponding chakras, the seven archangels then may be seen as the pristine rainbow of chakra lights that prism white divine light in the illuminate nervous system. The experience of going through this narrow gate at the end of time is always the same for everyone, to the point of being able to write it down as a standard event. However, some of the apparent standard feature in Kundalini Yoga, like the potential noises or effects going off in the brain associated with opening chakras, are not always noticed, even though they may be written down to contain a complete formal and technical account, as in the Indian Vedas. In this case, the seven angels of the illuminate are given trumpets in unison, as if they all have the same trumpet, like Gabriel's horn, as a hermetic archetype. A hyperbolic expansion from a point, that is a bindu, or singularity comparatively to cosmic creation, and subsequently applicable in personal subtle physiology. The text then identifies the key point from which this occurs. Verse 3. Another angel who had a golden censer came and stood at the altar. He was given much incense to offer with the prayers of all the saints on the golden altar before the throne. Verse 4, the smoke of the incense, together with the prayers of the saints, went up before God from the angel's hand. The angel who came and stood at the altar is the Son of God, and his golden censer is the seventh pineal chakra. Filling with the light from its radiance and starting the clock of time with cosmic creation, hurling or casting, as it says in the KJV, completes the allegory for the effect the light has in generating cosmic creation from the abyss. Singularity. At this point in the text, before focusing on the illuminate and casting out all that is impure in the four somatic centers physiologically, expressed through the combined hermetic idiom of the four elements. The Temple of Solomon, that is sun, and also tripart spirit, mimics the human body like a Christian church and holds special place in the courtyard for the burning of offerings. So he's showing here simply what the bottom part here, showing the Solomon's temple and what it shapes like. And then also he shows it also in more what I would call another churches here at the top here, showing the body representing that part of the church building itself, the outer part, and also the inner part. And then the bottom part here is sharing more to do with the decoding of the revelations, meaning, starting at the bottom, earth, meaning earthquake, in white. In red is water. In black is flashes of lightning. And then the peals of thunder is the air within someone's head. Two pillars at the door are lower into the horizontal position. They would mimic the two arms of the cloud that protrudes towards the illuminate. So he's talking about what his event took place when he had in Cambodia, when he had this, not vision, but what took place within his own head. To the position of the burning incense that generates a pillar of fire and smoke, a figure of speech for the nature of the cloud. Verse 5, then the angel took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, and hurled it on the earth. And there came peals of thunder, rumblings, flashes of lightning, and an earthquake. Hurling energy into the physical plane is the act of creation that comes directly after ascending to the angel's right hand. Again, say this again. Hurling energy into the physical plane is the act of creation that comes directly after ascension to the angel's right hand. The cosmos expands its four elements: peals of thunder, that is air, rumblings like water, flashes of lightning, fire, and an earthquake being earth. That becomes the effect on the chakras of the four somatic centers applied to the illuminate. So again, these are not talking about anything here on this planet. It's just talking about the four elements in the book of Revelations. The word earthquake might convince anyone we are hearing about an event on earth. However, the word earth is material nature, applied to lower centers in the human body, as much as the greater cosmos it comes from, by the Hermetic principle of correspondence, as above, so below, and as within, so without. And he gives an illustration here in this particular book. Then the seven angels, verse 6, then the seven angels who had the seven trumpets prepared to sound them. So here he's going to show you the first four trumpets here. So you have the root chakra, then you have the sacred, and then you have the solar plexus. So here the first four trumpets are revealing what we call the sacred, the solar plexus, the heart, and the throat. So the pituitary, the being 6, and number 7 being the pineal gland. Again, he does not show he does show root, but that's not part of the first four trumpets. Root, the chakra, is not important. That is, and the two last ones are far more important later on. But yeah, he's showing the first four. Again, they're all total to 7. Verse 7: the first angel sounded his trumpet, and there came hail and fire mixed with blood, and it was hurled down upon the earth. A third of the earth was burned up, a third of the trees were burned up, and all the green grass was burned up. So the first angel blows his trumpet at the second chakra in the lowest creative center that is associated with the fire sign, Sagittarius, that is. Hence the fiery association. The three issues of hail, fire, and blood all concern what we call The Spirema, that's spelled Spierema, the good wine of ascension from the three Nadis, Nadis. The mention of hail is a watery lunar reference concerning ether in the brain, combined in a triplet with the fire of the solar force, that is the pranas, and blood of the logos, or lamb, which is aura fluid, AURIC fluid, physiologically. These convey the effect in the nervous system from the now bleeding lamb. The trees are the two olive trees, that is Ida, IDA, and Pagana, Natus. And the grass is the Aralola, which sees the same fiery Sagittarius force coursing through it. Now, verse 8. The second angel sounded his trumpet, and something like a huge mountain all ablaze was thrown into the sea. A third of the sea turned into blood. Verse 9. A third of the living creatures of the sea died, and a third of the ships were destroyed. So he's comparing this one top figure up here is to do with the sea being red. And then he'll compare this one down here with what we call the rivers and springs to what we call the chest area. We are hearing the same events at the first trumpet in a 3-in-1 statement, but with the element being water at the navel this time. The huge mountain all ablaze thrown into the sea refers to active volcano, you see, symbolic of Mars and Scorpio, the water sign of danger and death, and the ruling planet of appetite or desire. The thirds of blood, ocean creatures, and ships involved in destruction all relate to the center as the watery sea, a third of the three centers below the head. Verse 10, the third angel sounded his trumpet, and a great star, blazing like a torch, fell from the sky on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water. Verse 11, the name of the star is wormwood. A third of the waters turned bitter, and many people died from the waters that had become bitter. So again, he's showing the rivers and spring here. That's just showed you just a while ago up here. Again, remember, these are allegories. This is not a literal interpretation, folks. Okay, not a literal. Another great object, a great star of Venus, as Aphrodite of the people, in this case, not unlike the previous mountain metaphor. Blazing like a torch is emphasized as falling, like Lucifer, since the cardiac center is governed by the emotional psychic nature of the lower mind. He being PHREN, and now cannot use assumption of prejudgment anymore, since the truth with flesh has cast out all untruths, the truth of which is that in all of life's pleasure can become pain and bitter. Wormwood means simply bitterness. The scales of Librarian justice are inedible, and the truth is bitter to the lower mind that relies on mediocrity and invented half-truths. Verse 12, the fourth angel sounded his trumpet, and a third of the sun was struck, a third of the moon, and a third of the stars, so that a third of them turned dark. A third of the day was without light, and also a third of the night. So this would be showing simply the upper part of the head here, with the sky being a color of yellow. Continue on. The fourth trumpet is halfway through the seven, highlighting ascension at the 3.5 mark, and contains 6/3 as the 6 triangular wings of the Star of David. The text here involves the symbols of the solar eclipse metaphor from chapter 6 to 14, where the sun turns black, the moon turns red, and all the stars fall to earth at the moment of ascension to the black abyss in the highest Sumatra center, ruled by Virgo, the ascending virgin, with the moon at her feet and the stars above her head. As James M. Price states in his book, Apocalypse Unsealed, All mental action is here suspended on the psyche or subjective plane, that is, as well as the material on objective, as on the material or objective. On each plane, in turn, the forces have to be brought into equilibrium so that they neutralize each other, and then the consciousness rises to the next higher plane. In other words, everything goes black. A third of them turn dark, like the abyss or ether in the brain, revealing the cloud, the great projector of light onto the symbol screen of the cosmos, the first day of creation and Genesis, the first duality, what we call of day and night, as the first manifest aspect of God in the abyss, the world of creation in the Kabbalah. Verse 13, as I watched, I heard an eagle that was flying in midair call out in a loud voice, woe, woe, woe to the inhabitants of the earth, because the trumpet blast is about to be sounded by the other three angels. The three final woes announced by Aquila, the eagle, the prototype of Scorpio, the death sign, refers to the last three trumpets of the sequence concerning the root chakra at the base of the central nadi, from which rises the Sparamon to the pituitary and pineal chakras. Since lower physical man is in reverse to celestial, that is ascended/angelic man. These three final trumpets are woes because they are devastating to the lower nature desires and psychic passions. Here at the start of Act 2, the act with the greatest challenge of any drama, you see. While commenting on the three woes, Shaman Price says, quote, it cannot be too emphatically reiterated that the sex function exists only in the physical and psychic worlds, and the impure forces related to it are not employed in any way or for any purpose whatsoever by the followers of the gnosis. The abuse of this function is the most terrible of all crimes. The blasphemy against the holy pneuma, which is spirit, and the unpardonable sin, the punishment of which by natural law is annihilation of the image of the individuality, the second death, is only the celebrants who preserve the utmost purity of mind and body, thereby regaining the complete innocence of little children who can hope to enter the kingdom of heaven. Price's view of being barred from entering heaven, that is, becoming angels, unless one remains entirely chaste, is classical puritanical, that is, and wrecks of one who has not entered the kingdom of heaven themselves and gained the specific understanding which, after all, is determined by God and the light as the testimony of truth, and therefore cannot fully grasp without the experience of illumination. So what he's doing is revealing simply is that even though Price is doing the best he can at that time, what he's doing is bringing in some of his own particular perspectives, and they're not true. But again, he's not one who has gone through ascension, so he is speculating. Enter the kingdom of heaven is on God's invitation, that is, by the grace of God. And many who would find illumination from it would certainly do so unexpectedly at a point in life which they may have been married for some time, perhaps, and engaged in normal, healthy sexual relations. It is only on the general and immediate approach to spiritual union that we naturally abstain from sexual intercourse and preserve the oil in the cerebrospinal system in order to raise it within a few days, not weeks. Pursuit of truth eventually and naturally indicates a desire for stillness within the heart chakra on the near approach to spiritual union. Anyway, also God, our true self, knows us all too well and knows how much we can handle and how acute our intellect becomes. Coming to a state of self-control and mastery over the physical self, that is the ego, is not about shutting anything down or stopping its use, unless specifically and temporarily called for. We cannot remove the ego, for instance, but we can recognize it for what it is and allow its existence. What we have, we use conscientiously. When in control, we use what we have with intelligence and wisdom. Self-mastery, then, is about using what is available for personal benefit or others when in the highest intent, at the appropriate time or not. It is never a good idea to pretend aspect of our reality does not exist, such as sexuality. Like a knife, sexuality is a question of love or abuse. Its nature and limitations should be understood and not ignored. Many a spiritual aspirant that is someone initiative, has gone off the rails by trying to be the next spiritual hero without understanding that life is not about sitting it out while inculcating high self-regard. Stillness is found at the heart of motion. The key issue where illumination is concerned is the ability to play with concepts and the potential of the mind, noetics, so that unifying dual opposites of spirit and energy using characteristic visual means in a thought experiment become easy. The more spiritual issue is the attitude being in the moment in life, detached from too many emotional investments and outcomes. This comes naturally with greater understanding and leads to life woes and troubles, turning from great overwhelming oceans of emotional turmoil to storms and little thimbles. The transformation with ascension sees the individual turning their gaze from the floor around them to the horizontal, where they can see for miles. An ineffable soul or spirit become what we focus on in any moment, like water that can flow, drip, creep, or crash. If we focus on the idea of ineffable spirit living in stillness, we will discover it as it is, like a still lake. This is a simple focus of the great work. We discover through contemplation and reason that spirit is truly the constant reality and yet ineffable, lighter than a feather, untouched by the world, since its qualities also extend beyond it, our very own root, eternal, present, immanent, always loved, no matter what. And that is the conclusion of chapter 8 from the book by Phil Langdon today. And we will look into chapter 9 in the near future. So hope you're enjoying what I'm sharing here. Again, this is from Phil Langdon's book. Again, you have the opportunity again to read it, electronic book for free. It's simply called Revelations of the Holy Spirit, decoded by Phil Langdon. Thank you for being here, and I wish you a good day. Again, we're looking at simply as for those who have ears to hear and eyes to see and a heart that will think on these things. Thank you again, and have a good day.